There we go. All right. Hello there. What is going on, everyone? This is the end of an era. I titled this video like that because I'm going to be changing up a lot of the set here. I'm going to be making some big changes, and I figured I'd do like one last send off of the old setup. Looking at changing around furniture, changing around the layout of things, everything from like the helmets to like the Thundercats up here. It's hard to point behind me. I can just point around right there. To different, to changing like the games and stuff like that. I have a lot of ideas and things that I want to changes that I want to make, not just to the set, but also in the way stuff is presented and the content. Never gonna cover Star Wars Armada again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm still gonna cover Star Wars Armada. No, it's just it's just that I want to. Well, really, I'm gonna be clearing out a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff off camera too. I've got a lot of like spring cleaning to get to, and I've got a lot of games to kind of sort out. Some I may need to find new homes for. Some I may need to reorganize. And I also want to change out how I have stuff. Change how I have stuff laid out. For example, one example would be like when I have games behind me in the scene that have multiple expansions. Well, like for example, Star Trek Away Missions, cool game. I don't know if I need every single expansion kind of on the shelf. They just happen to be laid out right there. So what I think would be much better is to have like the core games on display, and maybe not every single expansion on display. I'd like to have a little bit more representation of the games that I play or that I enjoy, or maybe some of the more recent games that I've been talking about and games that I've been reviewing lately. And I want to have space for that on the shelves. And I don't think I've been doing that to the best of my ability. And so that's something I want to do a little bit differently. I also want to address some of your concerns that, hey, that shelf behind you is going to break soon. It's kind of kind of messed up looking. And so that's another thing that I want to take a look at and address. And it's funny to me because hearing you guys say that and then going back and looking at it, it looks very like this shelf looks very different on camera than it does in real life. When I walk up to it, I don't see it warping like that. But then when I go back and rewatch the footage, I'm like, oh yeah, now that they pointed it out, I can really see it now. And I guess it's because it's something I see every day. I hadn't noticed as much, but you guys have pointed it out to me, and I'm like, you know what, it is time for a hardware refresh, so to speak. So that's one of the things that's in the queue right now. So this will probably be the last live stream with this old. And I've had this thing forever. I think this was one of the first pieces of furniture I bought when I got out of the Army. When I bought my first apartment, it's like it's just kind of gone with me forever. And I'm like, all right, it's time to retire it, or at least move it, to a different, I don't know. Figure out another, figure out something for it. It may be warped a little bit too much to kind of rehome it or anything like that. But yes, so we'll be looking at making some changes like that, and not just the furniture, but also like the number of games that you see behind me and stuff like that. I will still have Star Wars stuff, so I'll still have some helmets, but like I've got a lot of helmets over here, and up top as well. I've got Darth Vader helmets, I got Master Chief helmets and stuff like that. And I like the idea of having a spot for collectibles as well, because I do cover collectibles from time to time, but I want to be able to swap them out and not have it always be like the exact same ones. And maybe like, hey, this time it's going to be Darth Vader, this time it's going to be Mando, depending on what. Maybe something's relevant to what I'm talking about. Perhaps the helmet giveaway. I don't know if you want used helmets that I've worn. I don't know. No, I don't think I'm getting rid of them. I think they'll still be out here. It's just like, let's say, the wall section, or my section here that I'm, that I film and review and paint and all this other stuff, is about this big. You're only seeing like this much of it. So I'm trying to kind of rearrange things to where what you see, you're seeing more quality stuff as opposed to just being a subsection of random stuff. I've got a whole, you know, I might, maybe I'll take you guys around with me a little bit. I've got, let me, I've got like a whole other sections in here of stuff that doesn't end up in a lot of my videos, like all my Legion minis and another, you know, I got kids board games, and I've got like a lot of like unsorted things, and then like all my Armada ships, and gosh, this is it's clunky. Let me try and set things back up. All right. So I know that was kind of a little weird. But yeah, so I've got a lot of stuff that I'm like, I can probably prioritize things better, showcase things in a better way. So if you're just joining, you know, this is probably the last stream that I'll have the current hardware set up. We're going to be doing some hardware refresh. We're going to kind of change the layout of the games and try to make it a better backdrop for future videos that I do out here. You know, a lot of my video content is also like on the Bridge of the Star Destroyer, that green screen setup. So that stuff isn't going to change, at least not significantly. But the other half of my videos that are out here and this type of content will. And so that's it. So I wanted to kind of talk about that, and also we'll do some Q&A. I'll get to I'll talk with you guys a little bit, and we'll get to, you know, like for example, like this whole section here that's in a lot of my videos is just like Armada ships. It's kind of unsorted, and granted, I like having them there, but it's just not as well put together, and I feel like I could probably be a little more neat and clean with it. Let's see. Hi, Severin Drax just says, I don't know if you have seen the previews of the new Star Wars Unlimited set. They're on the official site. Yes, I have. I did a video on those last week. Speaking of Mandalorian, like talking about leaving a helmet, that'd be a great opportunity for me to have a Mando helmet up here instead of a Stormtrooper helmet, right? You know, to kind of rearranging the set based on what the content is a little bit. But yeah, Mandalorian, big theme for the new Star Wars Unlimited set. Looks very cool. I'm looking forward to it. A big focus on equipment, on weapons and gear, and bounties. Bounties is cool. So that's exciting. No, I'm looking forward to that. It looks like it's going to be not too game breaking. Like I didn't see anything so far that breaks the mold of the game. And I like that. I don't like, you know, early CCGs used to have this thing where of course they'd have plenty of expansions. You'd have, you know, new sets all the time, but each expansion, the Decipher did this quite a bit, that like each expansion added like increasingly more aggressive new rule changes, and to where it started to get kind of crazy after a while, to where you didn't even recognize the game anymore. So yeah, that's I didn't see anything like that. So I think it's going to be a lot more. I think it's going to be a lot more close to the regular game, just doing a few little mechanics that the first set didn't do. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more like double color cards and stuff, and maybe people start running like mono green or mono red or something like that a little bit more often. I think it's probably like the third or fourth set before we start seeing more significant changes, like maybe a land that's like black white or something like that, or like a Revan who's black white or something like that. You know, like in taking, like doing things that we haven't seen before, and doing kind of outside of the box thinking. That would be pretty cool. All right, let's see. Well, what is this? What are we doing here? All right, I am. No. No, I don't want that. All right, so my comments just went away. Let me see here. So anyway, if you're just tuning in, that's whoa, we don't want that. There we go. That's done. There we go. All right. It is a 260 card set. You're right. All right. I'm getting to some of the comments here. Sorry about that. You mentioned you lose subscribers when you talk Magic. Have you noticed a drop since you've been discussing Unlimited? No, I think it's. I don't know if it's. Let me adjust a little bit. Okay, so I don't know if the subscriber drop was based on Magic alone, or if it was based on because it was Doctor Who. It was a Magic Doctor Who set that I was talking about. So I don't know if it's the CCG or if it's Magic or if it's Doctor Who. I've talked to Doctor Who a little bit before. I've got a couple of Doctor Who board games and stuff, and I didn't see that kind of drop. And I didn't see that drop at all with Star Wars Unlimited. I actually saw an uptick. So, or at least a temporary uptick. So there was definitely some initial interest, and I feel like the fact that it's Star Wars and the fact that it's a brand new game were two leading factors there. So I think those contributed to it. But yeah, no, it's interesting. It doesn't mean I won't ever talk Magic again, but I probably won't talk Magic as much. The thumbnail scared you end of an era. Well, I tried to include like the whole title, that it's about the set and the layout, not necessarily like the channel as a whole. Because I don't like when people say like this is the end and that's it. Like I was trying to put, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted the title to be a little bit dramatic. I wanted it to be a little eye catching, but I didn't want it to be misleading because I don't want to mislead people. But so it's like it's like this whole clickbait discussion. When you're in this business of trying to put out content, you do want eye-catching thumbnails, you do want eye-catching headlines, you do want those titles, but at the same time, you don't want to sacrifice your credibility by lying. So, so I added a little flair to it, and to me, it is the end of an era because I've had this bookshelf for, 20 years. I've had this bookshelf for 20 years. It has lasted forever. It's been here a long time. So it's going to be a big deal to replace furniture out here, to redo our layout. There's a lot of cleanup. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day things look a lot better. And we'll kind of go from there. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Well, I say fun, but it means a lot of work. 20 years is a good life for a bookshelf. I'm hoping the rest of my stuff lasts that long. Calyxes are expensive. There's some cheap ones and some expensive ones, and that's a really weird thing. Like, have you ever been furniture shopping? You're like, okay, like these two things look exactly the same. Why is one $60 and why is one $350? They look exactly the same. Clear out room for more that new Star Trek game. Yes, still waiting for the green light for Star Trek Into the Unknown. Although I'm sure it is coming. I've heard it's going to be like a late summer. That's kind of what we're looking at. So a couple more months. Did not expect to have to wait a couple more months, but looks like it's going to be a couple more months. But then again, I say that and I could turn around tomorrow and be like, okay, green light, let's go. News dump, let's do it. Yeah. After this year's Worlds, do you think X-Wing needs a points change? Errata game is much less diverse than it used to be. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I have not looked at a single game of X-Wing. I apologize if you were hoping for a much better answer. I pretty much am very casual. Like I played a game the other day, and it was very casual about it. I still don't use, like when I play, I don't use the missions or the scenarios. I don't like them. And so I don't really, if you're playing competitively, it's very different than if you're playing kind of casually. And I think casual play doesn't really care about points very much. I do wish that they would do more generics. Like I was building a list the other day. I was just like, man, why are all the generic pilots more expensive than named pilots that have extra abilities and more points than the generic? It's like, it's so, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word, but it's so kind of underhanded, and it's just blatant of like, oh, if you want to run generics, they're each going to cost 1 or 2 points more than everything else, just because we don't want you to run them. It's kind of, that's how it feels to me. Um, and I don't like that. I'm like, why can't I run why can't I at least run generics? Because I personally like generics for a game that I play casually, because it means I don't have to remember as many mechanics. How many times are you building a list in a game and you've got like 5 or 6 units or something like that, and they each have their own upgrades, and you have to remember everything and what everything does? It's like it's overload. It makes me not want to play. But I love it when I can just take generics, with and no upgrades, and usually I have like enough points to be able to get like that one extra ship. That used to always be the appeal to me. Like I can run like 3 aces, or I can run 4 generics, or in some cases five, depending on the ship, but basically one extra generic. Um, and so I always thought like I'd rather just have one extra ship, and then so I know they're all the same. I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about any upgrades. The standardized loadouts kind of help you from a certain point because you don't have to dig through all your upgrade cards, but it doesn't help you as far as remembering what everything does and all the rules for everything, and remembering what you have equipped, what activates when. Oh, this is at the end of this is at the start of the status phase. This is at the start of engagement, and all these things happen. Um, yeah, lists are limited to named pilots. Yeah, well, that's just how they're going to do it. I would love to see a points change that makes generics more worthwhile. Like I've even been so bold as to take generics without any upgrades and just thumb my nose at the rules. Sort of like, fine, I don't care. I'll be inefficient rather. I'll take generics at the insane penalty of and like you can only fit like 3 generics in a list now, and whereas if you're running named, you can hit like 4 or 5. It's so backwards. And of course, then you just lose horribly because you have terrible ships that can't do anything, and you have so few of them. And the trade off used to be that you'd get like one extra ship for I don't know why they think that's like that was kind of the equivalent, is that like one ace pilot could be worth like 2 generic pilots, and now it's the other way around where 2 generic pilots are worth 1 ace pilot, or rather 2 ace pilots are worth 1 generic rather. So yeah, I'm sure that you will expect some kind of points update. It is after Worlds. There's still supposed to be for X-Wing. There's still supposed to be reprints. The gunboat should be coming. I think that's the last confirmed reprint that we have that hasn't come out yet. I also wouldn't be surprised if we got another scenario pack for the First Order and the Resistance. They don't have a scenario pack. They don't have any standardized loadouts yet. So it sounds like your answer is yes. Yeah, I think it's entirely realistic to expect a points update. How sweeping it'll be is very much up in the air. I don't think if you're trying to get people away from using all named characters, I don't think that they're going to do that. I think AMG has a vision for X-Wing, and that is more about hero ships, and that's more about people using hero ships. What I'd love to see is quick builds using standardized loadouts. Standardized loadouts for generics. I think I don't know why they want everybody in hero ships specifically, but let's think about this. Let's say you had a TIE Interceptor, an Alpha Squadron TIE Interceptor or something like that, and it had a standard loadout, and maybe it was made weaker. Maybe it started out with a damage on it already, but maybe it was actually costed appropriately, to where you could get that one extra ship, but it would work out because you'd have more damage. So, yeah. That's something that I think I wouldn't mind seeing is like for them to take another pass at giving us the ability to run generics. I'd love to see like a standard loadout, like a meaningful generic of just about every type. I want to see that Academy pilot in the TIE Fighter again. I don't know if it's necessarily harmful to the game for people to run TIE Swarms. I feel like that's a staple of the game. I've heard that they didn't want as much swarm stuff happening, but that's part of the game. That's how Runner and TIE Swarms were the initial meta. One of the initial metas. It was like Howl Runner and TIE Swarms versus Han Shoots First. You know, like that was the initial, that was the original, the OG meta. You know, and I feel like that is X-Wing in a nutshell. You know, do you go with the swarms? You know, especially if they start with a damage on them each, like they're or just two hull. Maybe it's not a damage that can be repaired. Maybe it's just they only have two hull each. Maybe they're a little weaker. And you could do that with standard loadout. It'd be cool, man. That'd be really fun. And you'd have the option. You could still run a full health Academy pilot at a points increase. So that would be fun. But yep. Where'd my chat go? My chat history's gone. There it is. It keeps disappearing. I reinstalled. I actually had them So funny thing, I had to reinstall YouTube and reset up everything yesterday, and that is very weird. JK Lawling says, as a new player trying to get your friend into the game, you'd love generics, standard loadouts. Oh, yeah. Very cool. You could argue that almost every list is a swarm. Oh, yeah. I mean, from a certain point of view, I think a swarm has been like 6 or more. Typically, swarms are 7 ships, back in the day. Usually involved Howl Runner and a bunch of TIE fighters. Sometimes you'd make little exceptions to that, like, okay, I'll run 2 Alpha Squadron pilots. I'll run some TIE interceptors. You couldn't run many. But if you ran mostly Academy pilots, you could fit like 1 or 2 TIE interceptors in there with Howl Runner and still have a swarm. Then there were micro swarms, which were, like 5 or 6 ships that would still have Howl Runner, but have like a little bit more named stuff and have, lean more on the interceptors, and then possibly like a Merrick Steel or something like that in a TIE Advanced, or Darth Vader in a TIE Advanced, or a Defender thrown in there or something like that. You have like kind of like 1 or 2 bigger ships to kind of bring the point total down, and that kind of was like a micro swarm, and that's kind of where I feel like most lists are today. Oh yeah, the concept of TIE swarms was incredible, but they've been kind of ruined so much. One of the things about a TIE swarm is that it wasn't just a whole lot of ships that you had to kind of point this whole thing the right way. You had to fly them correctly. You had to not bump each other, and there was a whole technique with going into that. It still exists in the game, but it's heavily diminished. You don't have 9 or 8 ships all flying together at once, 7 or 8 ships all in a box this big, trying to fly in unison without a single bump. And then the thing is, they made the penalties, because you always would eventually have a bump. Somebody with a low initiative would get in there as a blocker. Something like that would happen. But there was always this, this aspect of, I don't know if I'm going to make this bump or not. And if I do, it denies me my action, but that's okay. But now there's like this, they made bumping so much worse. There's now damage if you bump your own ships, Emmanuel, you think they're going to try and make X-Wing into a standard loadout game? I agree. I definitely think that's what they're doing. It's kind of unfortunate, and it's kind of fortunate in other ways. I like the standard loadouts. I like that. I have some concerns on the pacing and the direction that they're going. For example, why are the standard loadouts so heavily concentrated on the Rebels and the Empire? Like, how many X-Wings do we have right now, and how many TIE fighters do we have right now, versus how many, Jedi Delta 7, or how many droid, or how many First Order, how many T-70 X-Wings do we have? 0. So, the First Order and the Resistance are really heavily left out. The Clone Wars have a little bit, but not that much. Does Scum and Villainy have a single one yet? I don't think Scum and Villainy has they're the biggest faction. Why do they have nothing? Right? So, but the last one we got is just more X-Wings and TIE fighters. That's very strange to me. It's like, I know X-Wing is big. I know it has a lot. And I know it's a tall order to take over a game like that and balance every single ship. The Outrider. Oh yeah, yeah. It came with the Scum and Villainy one. That's true. Nice job, Gareth. Yeah, the Outrider, because that was predominantly a Rebel expansion, but then they did add that Scum and Villainy version for it. That's true. Good point. Good point. But still, you can't make a Scum and Villainy list out of just the one ship. So if you wanted the standardized loadout build for Scum, you're not going to be able to do that quite just yet. But that's a good point. I don't know what the plan is, for the future with them, but it almost seems to me like they said, look, X-Wing has too many ships. Let's shrink the game down to where X-Wing only has 10 ships, and let's just make standard loadouts for those 10 ships, and then eventually, like maybe once every year, we'll add like 1 or 2 new ones. So let's just keep doing another battle that has X-Wings and TIE fighters, and this time we'll add the Millennium Falcon to it. Except that was already in there, so bad example. So like the Battle over Endor pack was like so much. Like, what did we get? Like an A-wing that was like that we hadn't seen before and stuff like that. We're not getting that many new standard loadouts. So yeah, like I really don't need any more X-wings and TIE fighters for a long time. But that's they keep doing that. So that's kind of my guess. If I'm looking at what they're doing, I think they want to shrink the game down a little bit. And they've already done that with the only second edition reprints are now legal and stuff like that. Of course, like I'm of the mindset where I'll just play standard. I like to keep it as close to the game as it was under FFG as possible. That's why I don't use the scenarios very much, but yeah, that's and if I do that, then it seems you still have certain rule integrations, because I'll play on that. I'll play on simulators and stuff like that, but I don't want to play X-Wing as a scenario. I want to play X-Wing as a dogfight. To me, X-Wing is a dogfight. Armada's my scenario game. Armada's got scenarios. I love the objectives that Armada has. I wish I'd do more with Armada too. We should be getting a rapid reinforcements soon. Do we have any Armada fans in the chat? Let me know. But like they're giving Legion a lot of attention, but they're not giving that much to Armada. I want to go back to there was another question I saw earlier about Shatterpoint. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, Sarami said, "What team are you playing in Shatterpoint?" Right now, I got my eye on the Ghost Crew. I'm interested in the Ghost Crew for Shatterpoint. I haven't played much recently, but I'm definitely looking to run the Spectres, and possibly Thrawn. I feel like there's a lot of different things that you can do with the Ghost Crew. Like it seems like we haven't seen all of them yet, but it seems like they all work with each other, but they also can work with different folks. Like Kanan has some things that also work with Rebels, and Sabine has some stuff that also works with Mandalorians. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing there. So I think it'd be kind of cool to run Sabine with Mandalorians. Armada, we got some Armada fans in the house. Very cool stuff. I had an Armada tournament today that I did not make it to. I have too many things to do today. I've got a lot of cleaning to do. We got WrestleMania Night 2 tonight. And so there's a lot of, I just have a lot of stuff on my plate today. So I'm just not able to make that. But as I'm out here, I figured I could, set aside a little bit of time, live stream for a little bit with you guys. If you guys are just joining in, this is the last time we'll be having the current backdrop, the current set, the way it is. I'm doing a lot of rearranging, some refreshing of furniture, and things will look a little different in the future. That's kind of what we're going for. It's kind of the plan as it stands right now. So let's see what else. You guys got any more questions for me? Or are we gonna wrap this one up early? Let's see. I haven't played an Armada in a year, but it's still the best. Yeah, sometimes it's harder to play a game that's that hasn't seen a major refresh in a while. You've come to love the background. It's not going to change too much, but the furniture is going to change. I'm going to be changing the layout of what you see and where you see it. I want to focus a little more on games that I'm playing right now, and a little less on expansions for games. So like one example I pointed out is I've got like 2 Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught boxes right here, but maybe I only need 1 showing. I've got like 7 Star Trek Away Missions boxes right here. I probably only need 1 showing, you know, things like that. So I may keep like expansion content off camera, and I may just have like base games behind me. This way I can feature more games, give coverage to more games, highlight more games. There's plenty of game companies and designers and things like that that I'd like to, you know, give representation to when I'm doing streams and content out here. And I think that's a good thing. Yeah. Keep the helms and the ships. I'm not getting rid of any of that stuff, but it may, frankly, like the ships, like this right here isn't adding much. All right, like this right here, like you can see like 1 ship. It's like it doesn't even look like this isn't like the centerpiece of everything. You know, if we go over more, you can see more of that. But I'm not usually shooting right there because I don't have space. I got, it doesn't work out as well. So I'm gonna make some changes. I'm not getting rid of things though, and I want to have a spot that I can kind of swap certain things. I want to be able to swap things out a little easier. And do that. So we're gonna see. It's gonna be a work in progress. But there'll be some changes. But you know, we'll still. I mean, as a whole, the channel will still continue to operate largely the same. All the stuff I do with the green screen on the bridge of the Star Destroyer, that's it's not going to change, or at least not change much. I don't have immediate plans for that to change. But some other pretty interesting stuff coming up soon. I'm going to talk about this next week. But there's an Age of Sigmar rules change that's coming up. Do we have any Warhammer players in the channel? And if not, it's still it might be applicable to you because there's they're doing a new edition for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, 4th edition, and they posted this thing about a lot of units are going away. And this is an interesting thing. So think about, I'll equate it to X-Wing 2nd edition or whatever. Imagine if you're a Rebel player, because the Stormcast Eternals are like the Space Marines of Age of Sigmar. They're kind of like the number 1. So imagine you played Empire, and they said, okay, all these units are going away from Empire in 2nd edition, or in the next edition, and you're losing TIE fighters, TIE interceptors, TIE defenders, and all of this stuff. You're losing maybe a good 20 to 25% of your army, and in some cases that might be the exact army that people flew. Like if you just flew a TIE swarm or something like that. So that's kind of what's happening in Age of Sigmar, but it's not actually that bad, because with a lot of them, I would probably wager most, but they haven't spoiled everything just yet. A lot of them are getting refreshes, so I don't have too many out in front of me. But basically, all right, let's see. I'll use Neve Black Talon as an example. She's not one of the ones that's getting changed, but she's had a refresh. This is a new sculpt for her. She had an old sculpt. So there's Liberators that they've already announced. Like here, we're having new Liberators, but Liberators are also on the chopping block. It means that they're not going to be supporting that particular model. So if you're going to have a new reprint, if you're going to have, same thing with Star Wars Legion, the soft plastic stuff is going away. They're not going to be reprinting the soft plastic anymore. Once they get the hard plastic done, then that'll be it. And the thing is, they're still going to support that unit for a year. So there'll still be new War Scrolls, or still be new stats for it. But after a year, they're not going to rebalance the old stuff that phases out anymore. However, there's a big however. Most of these units, or everything that gets reprinted, will be. So out of this big chunk that they've released, all these guys are on the chopping block. Everything that we reprint from here will not be on the chopping block once the reprint comes out. And so at the end of the day, everything is still supported. Everything will still work in what they call legacy play. But for tournament play, there's going to be some units that you won't be able to use at a certain point. But everything will probably come back. Usually it's the older models that are just, I mean, the game's been going forever, and they're updating. They're doing a refresh on some of the sculpts and the molds, and you don't have to buy the new ones either. Like if you have the old version of the model and a new one comes out, you can still use the old version of the model, and you get a new War Scroll for a new unit card. So anyway, it's I don't know if it was communicated as well, and a lot of the content creators are like, everything's on the chopping block. They're cutting out half my army or whatever. And then I don't see it that way. I have some units that are on the chopping block, and I have full confidence that I'll still be able to use them. But I also don't play in tournaments. I only play competitive, so, or kind of casual competitive. So it doesn't matter to me if they're legal or not anymore. I can still use them. So I don't worry as much about that. I'm more excited about having new rules and having all of the stuff that I have do different things. That excites me. I'm like, oh, cool. I get to like learn my army all over again. So I think that'll be fun. But people feel differently about that stuff. We'll see what else is new. Been painting some Inquisitors lately. Almost done. Almost done with the Inquisitors. I'll probably have some photos on social media when they are done. Inquisitors for Legion. I feel like I haven't had anything new for Legion. I mean, the Inquisitors were new, but outside of that, we haven't had anything new in a long time. What was the last new stuff for Legion? Was it Ahsoka? Like, things have slowed down so much for Legion. It's interesting to me. I mean, I bought some Wookiees. I redid my Wookiees. Oh, no, the Geonosians. There was the Geonosians. I did paint my Geonosians. I did them kind of quick, though. I'm not as proud of them. I'm not as eager to run Geonosians either. I think that's why. If it's something I don't think I'm actually going to run, I don't paint it. Like, let me show you my Ewoks really quick. Okay. All right. So these are my Ewoks. Oh, no, that one just broke, fell and broke. Look at that. He's okay. He came off the base. Okay, so my Ewoks are primed, and that's it. Like this long, right? This long later, I'm just like every time I think about sitting down and painting Ewoks, I'm like, I'm just gonna make them brown, and they're already brown. I get so melodramatic about it. I'm like, I mean, they're already brown. What do I want to do with these? They're already brown. I'm never gonna run Ewoks. Well, probably never gonna run Ewoks. I don't know. It's like, do you ever feel like that? You ever feel like why did I buy this unit? Oh, the 5th Trooper got you with the April Fool's spoiler. Yeah. Oh, I do think Jar Jar Binks is coming. I definitely do. I feel like Gungans have to be coming. They kind of have to be, right? I mean, Gungans would be too. Qui-Gon makes a lot of sense. I could definitely see Qui-Gon. We got Darth Maul for the Separatists. We should have Qui-Gon for the Republic. They were there at the same time. That version of Maul and that version of Qui-Gon fought in the same battle. That sort of, it was the domino effect that started the Clone Wars. It works. It just works. Everything else from that movie is in the game. Why not Qui-Gon? And you could even reimagine Qui-Gon as a Republic general. I've seen a lot of art that does that. It's cool. It's really cool. So I don't know. I'd love to hear some of you guys' thoughts. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up here shortly. But yeah, we'll have some more content next week. We've got some new things coming up. We got some Cyberpunk stuff to talk about very soon. More Cyberpunk stuff. I just did a review of the Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Night City, but there is more Cyberpunk goodies on the way because there's a lot of Cyberpunk games coming out right now. So that's something that I'm really into. I don't know how many of you are really into that, but if you like miniatures, definitely stick around and you want to check out some of the new Cyberpunk content. We have possibly more Legion news next week. Hopefully some more Armada news if Rapid Reinforcements, if Rapid Reinforcements 3 comes out, that'd be great. If not, we're going to speculate on what we think Rapid Reinforcement 3 is going to be. So there's little hints of some things that are coming. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. So say we all. Have a great day and always wash your